Awesome. Are we live, Mitch?
Yeah, we just went live.
Great. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are looking through some of the attendees and see some familiar faces that we've spoken to in the past. So great to have you here. Mitch and I are going to wait just a couple of minutes in case anyone else is trickling in, and then we'll go ahead and get this started here in about 2 or 3 minutes. If you guys are interested in kind of commenting where you're from or anything about your role, that would be helpful. Feel free to in the chat. We always love kind of hearing from you guys and who's joining today. Mitch, I think you can see the current attendee count right now?
Yeah, seems to be pretty static, so we could probably go ahead and get rolling here.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and kick it off, and I'm sure some more people will flow in. But just for anyone who maybe hasn't joined one of our Glew Plus webinars in the past, these will be recorded and then put onto the website in the video section. So if you have to, unfortunately, leave a little bit early or something comes up, just know you can't access that. Hopefully we're able to have you for the full duration of the time. So we're really excited about today's topic, and it's a topic that we talk about it a lot with our customers, because it's something that really adds a lot of value and helps bring your custom reporting and make it a little bit more actionable. So the topic today is going to be merging results in Glew Plus and Looker. And you can think about merging results as just like joining data together, whether it's joining two different tables from one source or joining together multiple different data sources in order to form those actionable insights. So there's a lot to go over. Hopefully this is helpful in terms of if you're already in Looker today, it'll help you kind of boost that reporting. If you're interested in getting started with Glew Plus and Looker, it'll give some good insight into kind of some of the possibilities. And alongside me today, apologies, I have one of our senior BI analysts and developers, Mitch Harchis. He's going to be leading the demo portion of today's call. So with that being said, Mitch, thanks for joining, and I think we're ready to get started.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So let's... Okay. All right, and Nick, are you able to see this?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So today we are going to be going over a pretty powerful function that Looker has, and that's with merging results. So essentially, the way you think about merging results is taking data that you've pulled from one Explorer. So in this instance, we're in our Shopify Orders Explorer, and merging that data with a different Explorer. So it could be a Shopify Refunds Explorer. It could be a Google Analytics Explorer. It could be other integrations. So merging results is a way to kind of blend more than one integration and data together. So how these explorers are originally built is, so all of these tables are actually already pre-joined. So these, you won't have to merge results. We've spent the time to, work on the background development so that all of these are already pre-joined in the background. So you can select any fields from these tables without having to worry about, trying to merge results or join or use SQL or anything like that. So The only case in which you would need to merge results is if you need to bring in a field into this group of tables that is currently not here. And so how we do that is, using merge results. So the first thing that we want to make sure of when we are merging results is that the two sources you are joining together or merging has a primary key. So a primary key is basically any column that exists in this Explorer and whatever Explorer that we are trying to merge results. So that could be an order ID. So if this, the Shopify orders table has an order ID field. And if we went to, a different source that had an order ID that matched, then we could join those two together. So we always want to make sure that, the two different data sources that we are merging has a common key. And, sometimes, and we'll kind of go through this example later today, but sometimes obviously two integrations won't have that. But, kind of a backstop there and something you still can use is just a date function, or I'm sorry, not a date function, but a date field where you can just kind of aggregate data based off the day and merge that together as well. So we can kind of go into that section a little later, but first I want to do a really basic example of, how we would do a merge results between Shopify and GA. So what we first can do is, I know that in Shopify, the primary key between Shopify and Google Analytics is the transaction ID. So I can find in Shopify orders a transaction ID. So I'll go ahead and bring that in. And then I can pull in, let's say, a sum of revenue. We're going to expand our row limit just to make sure we're bringing as much data as possible. And let's put a relatively short date filter here. So we'll just do the past 7 days. So we'll just go ahead and run this. And what this is going to give us is just a list of all of our transaction IDs and the sum of revenue from that order. Okay, awesome. So we have our revenue amount here, and we have our transaction ID over here. So in this use case, let's say we want to pull in our GA data associated with these transactions. So maybe, the first click channel, anything like that. So what we can now do is hit this gear icon on the right, go down to merge results. And scroll down to Google Analytics. And ignore these duplications. It's just because I'm in a production and dev environment. So we'll go down to our e-commerce model and explore. This is one that contains our transaction level data within GA. So we can find that transaction ID. So that's going to be that same primary key as the Shopify. But now we can pull in campaign, medium, metro, etc. And need to make sure I am using the same demo account. I'm also going to put a filter here for order date last 7 days. And then last thing I want you guys to be aware of is when merging results, always make sure that your row limit is up to the max of 5,000, or just make sure whatever row limit you set is going to contain all the data that you pull. Because if I ran this and it had more than whatever row limit I had, not all results would be pulled into the final merge results table. So we want to make sure in your secondary query here that that row limit should encompass all data that you're able to pull in here. So I will go ahead and hit save. Now, the next thing that's going to pop up after I hit save is this merge rules. So this is telling us from our orders primary query, which is the first set of data we ran, we are merging transaction ID to the Google Analytics transaction ID. So Looker is pretty good about knowing exactly which ones will merge. But if for some reason you look at it as like, oh, that doesn't seem right, there's usually a drop down with all the different fields that were pulled in. You can choose which one to make sure is the primary key between the two. But like I said, usually you won't have to worry about that. Usually those are always correct. So let's go ahead and hit run. We can close that. And now we can see we have orders that were in Google Analytics. We have that data merged in to there. So yeah, obviously not all transactions exist within their GA data, and this is just some test data, so that's why it might be a little funky. But you can see now how we have the GA data pulled into the Shopify data as well, all in one table, and then we can work on visualizing it however we'd like up there. One thing I do want to note is, if you want to go back into either of the two data sources that you pulled, we have over here on the left side source queries. So, we can click into orders, and that will pull us back into our original Shopify data set that we pulled. And then same thing if I clicked into e-commerce. You'll notice that for orders, it says it's primary right here. So that means basically it's pulling all data from this orders query / data set we pulled, and it's left joining the e-commerce data to it. So it'll be everything from the orders query and then it'll be only things from the e-commerce query that match on that primary key into this table. Please let me know if you have any questions with that. Definitely a tad bit confusing, but essentially think of it as a left join. So we have everything in orders and only from e-commerce where it matches onto that original orders query. If I wanted to merge results again, I can add query here. And it's the exact same screen. We pick the new Explorer that you want to merge and go through that same process again. So you can really have as many merge results in one as you want. Obviously, the more and more data that you pull in and the more queries that you have, it'll probably start running a little slower as as it's pulling in so much data. So definitely be mindful of that. Okay, cool. So I am going to go ahead and back out of this and show you a different example of merge queries using ad platforms. So let's start with AdWords. We can do Google AdWords, and let's just do campaigns right now. So in this example, I'm going to show you how to merge results over a couple of different ad platforms, so you can see kind of your total, ad spend across combined. So I'm going to add in the demo account, and next thing I'm going to do, so thinking about this, so the ad platforms we're going to use right now are going to be Google AdWords, Facebook ads, TikTok ads, and Amazon ads. So just knowing that data, I know that there isn't a primary key between the two. There's not like an ad ID or a campaign ID that I can use to join that data correctly. So what we can do is use date and look at kind of aggregated totals over, the last week. Excuse me. So what I can do is scroll down to timestamp date, go ahead and bring that in, and we'll also filter it again to just the last 7 days. And now we can go down to our measures. And for now, we'll just do a sum of cost. Just as an FYI, some ad platforms like AdWords call it cost. Some like Facebook will call it spend. It all means the same thing. So essentially, cost is equal to spend whenever you're dealing with your various ad platforms. So let's go ahead and hit run here just so we can see that data is coming through. Okay, great. So we have our spend for AdWords for the last week. So now what we're going to do is add in our Facebook ads data. So same thing, we'll go to the gear icon, hit merge results. We can search Facebook. I have my caps lock on. And for Facebook, usually we'll use the paid placements table to get ad spend, but you are able to pull it from those other tables as well, depending on what aggregation of data you want to do. So same thing, we will pull the timestamp date. We'll put the same filter on for the last 7 days. We will pull sum of spend, and then I will make sure we are in the demo account. And you can hit run to see it run, but you can also just hit save and it will automatically do that. Okay, look up my merge results, make sure we're joining timestamp date to timestamp date. Looks good. So let's go ahead and hit run. Cool. So now we have our Facebook with our Google AdWords. Another thing to note here, if we have, which we will, we're going to have 4 different ones here. So we can rename this. So we can call this one AdWords, change that, and then, name this one Facebook. So now we want to add TikTok. So we'll hit add query, which is just merging results again. Type in TikTok here, find our ads. Filter the demo account, open up ads stats. Do the same thing, filter out date, add date to the table, pull in sum of spend. Last 7 days, TikTok. Okay, looks all good. Same thing, we'll just hit save now. And we're making sure TikTok timestamp date is joining to that first AdWords timestamp date. Looks good. We'll rename this TikTok. And then last one, we will add Amazon ads. And we can do just campaign stats for now. Go to campaign stats, filter the date, add the date in the table, and sum of cost. Looks good. Same thing, our merge looks good, so we'll hit run. Looks like this dummy account doesn't have TikTok data yet. So let me just remove that for now. And that's going to be a lot of data that comes into there, but that's okay. I just want to show a good example. Perfect. So now if we want to look at totals, we can hit add calculation and we can do our sum of cost from AdWords plus our sum of cost from Amazon ads plus I think the other two are spend. So Facebook and TikTok. We can call this total ad spend. We can do US dollars formatting, hit save. And now we've got our total ad spend across all of our platforms here. If we open up the visualization, you can do it as a total line chart. If you wanted to look at it like this, you can. If you just wanted to look at total, you can hide all of these from the visual, just so you can see one total ad spend metric across the last 7 days. Cool. So does anyone have any questions with that or anything that I've covered, in the first 20 minutes here? If you do have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat box. We can wait, for a second or two and see if any pop up.
Yeah, Mitch, I'm watching over the chat, and we'll definitely interrupt if anything comes through, but I don't think there's anything specific on this right now.
Okay.
I'll keep monitoring it.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. So another great example that we can walk through for merging results is pulling in refunds into the Shopify or any other e-commerce platform's Orders Explorer. So we can back out and we'll start new here. Now, you'll notice in the Shopify Orders Explorer that in the orders table, there are some fields that have to do with refunds. So you'll see like amount refunded here. But it's important to note that if you're trying to compare refunds data from Looker to your Shopify application, we're going to want to pull refunds from the Refunds Explorer and not from the Orders Explorer. The reason for this is that Shopify looks at refunds based off of the refund date. When we have refunds here in this orders table, that's based off of the order date. So what we need to do is merge results between the refunds and the orders table to bring in that correct refunds number so that you can get that to match to Shopify exactly. So what we can do here is go ahead, add that same one. We will pull in order date and filter that to the last 7 days. And then let's go ahead and act like we're trying to build a net revenue calculation. So let's say our net revenue calculation is gross revenue minus shipping minus tax, and then it'll be minus refunds, and that equals net revenue. So we'll go ahead and run this. So these are the 3 measures that we want to get from our Orders Explorer. Awesome. And now hit gear icon, merge results. and go down to our refunds now. So now we'll pull in refund date. Same thing, we'll filter that for the last 7 days. And then we will pull in the sum of amount, which sum of amount is equal to the sum of refund amount. Okay, so we can go ahead and hit save. We are joining order date to refund date. That looks good. So we'll hit run. Okay, and looks like there weren't refunds for every day, which is okay. So now what we can do is if we want to look at net revenue, now we can add a calculation for our sum of revenue field minus our sum of shipping field minus tax minus refund. Oops, actually that's amount. Yep. Call this net revenue. Hit save. And now we've got our net revenue calculation. So you'll see, oh, wait, that's weird. I have zeros for my net revenue now. Why is that? So whenever you are using this table calculation and it's subtracting from a field that has a null value, that's going to cause that calculation in whole to be a null value. So what you'll need to do is go back in here and edit. And for the sum of amount field, which is the refunds, what we need to add is a coalesce function. So all we have to type in is coalesce, comma 0, close the parenthesis. And essentially it replaces the null value with a 0 so that the table calculation can work correctly. So now we can open up the visual. And, same thing, we can see our net revenue compared. And if we wanted to hide the parts of the calculation, we can, just so we can see our net revenue across the days. Okay, cool. So that is our refunds net revenue example. Nick, I think I have time to go through that last example that we spoke about beforehand, right?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. And then we'll save after you finish that example, we'll save the last 5 to 10 minutes to go through some examples. And Jonathan wrote in a great one for us to address at the end. So that sounds great.
All right. Cool. So the last example that we're going to do is show you an example of where you would actually merge results between the same two explores. So what I mean by this is if you had data where you needed to filter it, in totality in this data table, but you wanted to merge results, or not merge results, but to bring in other data that is filtered a different way. Something we could do is take Shopify order date, filter this for the last 7 days, and let's say we want to take a look at total orders for customers where it was their first purchase. How we would do that is to use this Shopify order timeline table. If you haven't used this table before, I definitely recommend it. It's something that we actually built in LookML. And basically what it is, it's a list of your customers, their order IDs, the order date and then which order of their lifetime that was. So it ranks all of their customers' orders all the time, be it their first order, their second order, their third order, etc. So what I can do here is filter this order number and say, I want to look at number of orders in the last week where the customers, it was their first order. So I can just say E is equal to 1. So now I hit run. Yeah, and sorry, sometimes this takes a little bit longer to load. This order timeline table is has a lot of data in it because it's basically contains all stores order list of all time. So sometimes it does take a second to run here. There we go. So in the last week, these are, the number of new orders for each day. So now let's say that we want to take a look at, we want to have a side-by-side column of repeat purchases. So what we can do is hit merge results. And we're actually going to open up the same exact Explore, but it'll be kind of a brand new table for you to open up. So go down to Shopify orders again. Bring in the same date field, filter it the same. Still bring in that number of orders measure. And then this time we're going to open up the order timeline table, filter for order number, but this time we are going to say where it's greater than 1, meaning this will be any number of orders where it's the customer's second or third or fourth order and not their first time order. So go ahead and hit save. Make sure we have order date merging to order date. Looks good. Go ahead and hit run. And just give it a sec. Okay, awesome. So now we can open up the visualization and we can see, okay, we've got that. So, and then if we wanted to change the name of this, we can change this to new orders versus repeat orders. And there you have it. And then, yeah, same thing. You can rename these, new versus repeat, change that. So, okay, great. Well, that was the last example that I had for you guys. So if we want to take the next 5-10 minutes and you guys can write in any questions you might have. I know we already had one from Jonathan. Is that what we said, Nick?
Yeah, we've got a great question from Jonathan that I can kind of get us started with. And then anyone else who's on the call today, if you have any questions, please feel free. We'd love to help address those. So I'm going to read this just because I'm not sure who else has access to Jonathan's note. Jonathan wrote in and said, any way to include static data from a Google Sheet or similar to plot data against benchmarks? Say simply revenue actuals against projections and goals. And this is something that a lot of our customers leverage Glew for. So there's a few different ways that you can go about doing this, and it really just depends on the use case that you have and how kind of scalable you want that reporting to be. The first of which would be through our custom table upload process. So this is a unique process with Glew where we're able to take a CSV file or a flat file of data that's provided by our customer and get that loaded into the same database that all of your other native Glew data lives. And so what ends up happening at the end of that process is, just like Mitch has walked through all of the other tables that you've seen today in Looker, that custom table that is a representation of the file that's sent to us becomes available in the Looker interface. And then that way, Jonathan, to your point, you could then use this merge results function to merge together the e-commerce actuals versus the custom table upload, forecast, goals, budget, target, whatever it is that you choose to include in that. So that's probably the most scalable way. And then of course, as time goes on, let's say the original file you submit is a monthly forecast for all the way through the end of 2023. That file, when the time is needed, can be updated on a recurring basis. And so there's ways that the Glew team can do that. We also, if it's like a high frequency updating or upload that needs to occur, we can provide you with that access to manage that file and keep the data updated. So that's option one. And if anyone has questions about that, feel free to email me directly after this webinar. I'm going to link my email in the chat. And then I do want to touch on one other option that's a little bit more of, I would say, like predictive in a, or not predictive, but really like algorithm driven. And so, Mitch, with the help of you, would you mind kind of driving for me since you're sharing your screen?
Yeah.
And can you go into just the Shopify, a new Shopify Orders Explorer?
Absolutely.
Cool. And once you're in here, I just want to show a quick example. If you could use the demo account and then break down a table by month and just do the number of orders.
All right. Should I put like a filter on the?
Yeah. Can you do last 24 months?
Yep.
And this is broken down by month, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then go ahead and click run there. And then expand the visualization tab. Here you go. And then
you know what I did? Since we did last 24 months, it would join December of the last 2 years together.
Oh, can you just do the regular month?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry about that.
No, all good. So right now, just for context, Jonathan and anyone else who's interested, we've got our table broken down in this example by month, showing our number of orders. In the visualization options in the upper right corner, you'll see a button for forecast. And so go ahead and click that button, Mitch, when you have a chance. So this is, like I was mentioning earlier, more of an algorithm. It's an ARIMA forecasting model, which is an autoregressive model. And it's going to base your forecast off of your historical data and along with a few other inputs like your prediction interval, your seasonality. So essentially what Mitch is showing here is that he's selecting the number of orders for the prediction interval, if he toggles that on and selects maybe just say 80% or 90%. And same goes for seasonality. He can toggle that and select automatic. And now if he reruns this.
Do we need to enter anything for the length here or just leave it?
Oh, yeah. Why don't you do, let's say 3 months.
Okay. 3 months. All right. Hit run again.
Yep. And I'm going to send through a document for you guys to kind of have access to as well. So give me one moment here. Could you would you mind toggling that to a line chart, Mitch?
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then interesting.
And also,
Did we forget something here?
Go ahead.
I was saying, did we forget to put something in here?
No, could you uncheck seasonality? That could have been my mistake.
Yeah. That's what it is.
And if our demo account isn't set up to do this, I can certainly, Jonathan, follow up with some examples. Oh, here we go. So you'll see kind of after that September, you'll see a new dotted line. So that's using that ARIMA model and it's projecting it forward. So we only did 3 months in this case, but you can kind of adjust it according to your business. So that's another good option. If you want complete control of the exact figures that you want to benchmark against for something like a goal or a target, I'd suggest the CTU. If you want something that's more of like, using your historical data to come up with that, then that's a good option there. I'm just seeing your note. So you're demonstrating an easy 3-point visualization, actual revenue, model forecast, static business forecast. So can expose when modeled forecast contrast to business forecast. Thank you for that note, Jonathan. Let me know if there's anything else that you're curious about as far as forecasting is concerned. I'm more than happy to take that offline and can definitely assist there. That's a really great question, something that comes up quite a bit. Anyone else on today's webinar who has a question related to merging results or honestly, just any question based on what we've seen today from Mitch? We'll give it a couple minutes in case someone's typing.
Cool.
All right. I think Jonathan's was the last question. For anyone listening, if a question comes up after the fact that you're curious about, if you have an account manager already with us, feel free to reach out to them. If not, you can use my email, which is in the chat, and I can get you directed to the best person. With that, Mitch, thank you so much for joining today. It's always nice to have an expert on and walking through a topic like this. So we hope this is valuable. We'll continue to host these webinars. And I've said this in previous webinars, if there's, you have a burning desire or a topic that, you really think could add value to our customer base and yourself, please feel free to reach out. We're always happy to take that into consideration and make it part of this webinar series that we're doing. So thank you guys so much. We hope to see you on the next webinar.
All right. Thanks, everyone.